On this edition of Native Report, we visit the Grand Portage Band of Ojibwe and learn the significance of the Spirit Little Cedar Tree. We learn what one reservation in northern Minnesota is doing to lessen their carbon footprint. And we see what's cooking with Chef Freddie Bitsoie. We also learn something new about Indian country and hear from our elders on this Native Report.
Production of Native Report is made possible by grants from the Shakopee-Mdewakanton Sioux Community, the Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe, and the Blandin Foundation.
Welcome to Native Report. I'm Stacy Thunder. Manidu Gijigans is Ojibwe for Spirit Little Cedar Tree. The tree, more commonly known as the witch tree, has stood as a silent protector for hundreds of years on the shores of Lake Superior. And to the Ojibwe, this is much more than a tree.
On this cool fall morning, the waves of Lake Superior splash against the rock face, where the Spirit Little Cedar Tree has stood for ages. To understand the tree's significance, you must understand a bit of Ojibwe history.
What we're told through oral history is that our people left the East Coast probably about between 12 and 14,000 years ago. And what they say, it was a sacred migration that took approximately 4,000 years. So when the people hit a place called Bowie Tongue, which is today called Sault Ste. Marie, it was there they settled for a while, and it was from there again they continued the journey. And what they did is they split. Some of the clans went the northern part of the lake, and the other clans went the southwestern part of the lake. And the people here in Grand Portage are descendants of those clans that left Sault Ste. Marie and came the northern part. And so we're talking about our people probably getting here thousands of years ago. The name of the tree was Manidu Gijigans, Spirit Little Cedar Tree. And they knew that this was a sacred place. And so it was felt that then some people should stay here. Another thing they understood about this tree is that it was a boundary. That it would be a boundary, and as you can see, the tree is pointing out, and it's pointing out. If you go straight out there, eventually you're going to hit Isle Royal. So they knew that Isle Royal was also a sacred place, and that so they did ceremonies around the tree. And at some point in time, the people then knew that they were supposed to go out to Isle Royal because that was a sacred area. Not only was it used for hunting and gathering purposes, but it was also used for ceremonies.
Located on the Grand Portage Indian Reservation in northeastern Minnesota, offerings to the spirit of the tree are made in the present, much like they were in the past.
There's spirits in the water that live, what we call living in the natural order of the world, and that's their place. They say there's a very Gichiganebik, there's a big large snake, serpent that lives in Lake Superior. And it's so our people understood that, and so before they left for Isle Royal, they would have to put tobacco and acknowledge this tree and ask for a safe journey. It's a sacred marker for this area that our people came and understood and acknowledged that this was something that was to be taken care of, honored, and looked after, because it was here for a purpose to protect this area and protect the people and keep it safe. And over there's a little cove, and over there are little spirits that live in that cove, and they also protect this tree.
Access to the Spirit Little Cedar Tree more commonly known as the witch tree, is limited to band members and their guests.
When people hear about this tree, they come here. And because they don't have an understanding of the sacredness of it, people have come and abused it. They've taken pieces from it. They just don't understand that it's here to use, but not to disturb, not to take pieces from it or leave different other types of objects. And so we felt that in order to protect it, because that's our responsibility, that we were feeling that if it was just open to everybody, and especially people who didn't understand the significance of it, that there were chances that it would be abused. And so thus we created the other trail, and we have a platform up here, then people can come and view it. We did it for protection and safety of our tree. This is for everybody. What we'd like to do is, before people come out, they usually have to have a tribal member come out, and we hope that we educate the tribal members that bring people out to give them the history and knowledge of the tree, so that they also understand the significance, so that they just come out and just take pictures of it and see. That's all there is. I got a nice picture of this tree that scientifically nobody can explain, and it was never meant to be explained scientifically, that the Creator put it here for a purpose, for all people who come to this area to come and share and feel a sense of its sacredness.
For Morin, the tree and the land it sits upon offers a refuge away from the stresses of the outside world.
This is where I come when sometimes things get hard, life gets hard, a lot of things on my mind. I come here to find comfort, sereneness. I come here to pray. I come here to pray and ask for help. Not just help for me, but help for my people. And so it's a very, very calming place for me. And this tree is very, to me, is very sacred. And I come here, and I come here to hopefully help, again, find myself as an Anishinaabe, because this tree was put here for the Anishinaabe people. When they came here thousands of years ago, they saw it and saw that this was a place for us to find, to continue to understand who we are as a people. When we say Anishinaabe, that means a human being, and we're part of a human family. That means all of the humans living on this earth. We're all connected. We're all connected to creation, and we're all connected to each other. So this is for everybody.
Understanding of the tree goes hand in hand with the understanding of one's own existence.
We have culture, we have a way of life. Bimatiziwin, the good life. And so this is part of that Bimatasawin, to understand that we have to honor sacred places and sacred things. And if we continue doing that, honoring those things and honoring all creation, that we will have a good life. And the people will be safe, they'll be protected, they'll understand the need to share, to take care of each other, to respect each other, understand, love each other. So it's very important that the future generation doesn't understand this place, even Grand Portage, the whole area of Grand Portage, that our ancestors preserved this area for us. It's only been through years of going out and seeking that knowledge of the traditions and the history and the understandings that over the years I began to really understand the significance of this tree to our people.
Did you know Indian tribes maintain jurisdiction over the natural resources on their tribal lands? The federal government has a trust responsibility over land, trees, water, wildlife, and other natural resources on reservations. This relationship came about through treaties, statutes, and the course of dealing with Indian tribes. It means that the United States is responsible for ensuring that tribal lands are well cared for. However, beginning in the 1970s, under the policy of tribal self-determination, tribes were able to take a greater role in protecting their own natural resources with the aid of the federal government. Today, the United States Department of the Interior, the EPA, and other federal agencies work with tribes to ensure that resources are protected. But in general, tribes are taking the lead on most reservations. Tribes sometimes also enter into agreements with other tribes or states to ensure the long-term preservation of natural resources in a region.
In 2009, the sovereign nation of the Fond du Lac Band of Lake Superior Chippewa ratified the Kyoto Protocol, pledging to obtain 20% of their electricity through renewable resources by 2020. One prominent example of how the band is reducing its carbon footprint is its resource management building, a model of energy efficiency and conservation across Indian country.
Clouds obscured the sun on this fall day, but the latest technology built into the Fond du Lac Resource Management Building will convert the available light into usable energy.
There's silicon cells that are actually absorbing the sun's energy, making it into electricity. And then it's DC power, which is direct current power, come through the lines, go down to an inverter, which switches it over to AC power, then goes to your meter on the breaker panel on the building. Any power that you're using while these are producing power, it's going to be produced from the solar first. Any excess power that the solar panels are making is going to send power back to the meter or back to your utility. This is a 12.25 kW solar PV system, which is going to produce on average around 17,500 kilowatt hours per year. In terms of houses, that's going to produce approximately full power for 2 homes for a whole year in the state of Minnesota. Along with the electrical production from this system, it'll also cut Fond du Lac's Resource Management Building's carbon emissions by 35,000 pounds annually.
The building is I guess you can look at it as kind of an experiment by the band. There's, the technologies that are available now are getting better and better to be more energy efficient. And this building was designed to be a LEED certified building. There's certain levels, and there's a lot of things that you have to do in order to reach certification first, and then each level is a step up on the design. Each part of that is it's a cost to us. It's a cost to the band, but being a cost to us, it also has a payback to the band. The building is as our division is a flagship in Indian country. I think we're looking at this as being a flagship in Indian country also, but maybe in the country itself, because it's going to show that energy efficiency and energy efficient designs are feasible, and you can use them in the Northland, not just where the sun shines all the time, but in the Northland where you really need that kind of design.
LEED is an acronym for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. All elements are meant to conserve energy usage. The band is also researching other conservation projects.
It's all leading to a future of renewable energy for the band. Fond du Lac Business Committee asked me to research Kyoto Protocol and signed on to Kyoto Protocol to produce 20% renewable energy by 2020 and reduce their electric load and produce 20% electric by 2020 by renewable means.
We're looking at wind energy. We've been looking at it for a long time. We're researching geothermal, looking at how can we incorporate that into our building here. How can we use biomass energy, produce gas or electricity with a biomass burner. So we're looking at a lot of things.
The Resource Management Division had outgrown the former office building. A grant from the Shakopee-Mdewakanton Sioux community partially funded the project to build the new facility.
We had too many people in each office, 3 to 4 people per office. But what happened is they've been working on this probably for 10, 15 years. There's always this anticipation that this goal of getting a building like this, it's almost like a dream come true. All along, over those years, people would say, oh, we've been through this all once before and now we're finally getting it. Nobody believed it when actually construction took place. The Shakopee Mdewakanton Sioux community, thank them very much for their contribution and funding this. It's a privilege to work in a building like this. It's an update, high-tech, energy efficient building. We have about 40 permanent full-time staff that work here. The level of happiness probably increased over 100%. There's more privacy here. Everyone enjoys doing their work now. The official name of this building is Fond du Lac Resource Management and Tribal Court Building. So there's other folks or other disciplines that are also here.
The relationship may not be apparent, but the Resource Management Building is in fact a direct result of treaties signed during the 1800s.
The building is kind of it's an outreach of the forethought that was given by the people that made the treaties. This is the headquarters for our management and relationship with those resources that were reserved for us, the hunting, fishing, and gathering. And with that relationship comes the responsibility of managing that. And I think that's one of the main responsibilities we have, is to maintain the relationships with our environment, with the animals, the plant world, and our Mother Earth.
There's a commitment to energy conservation, and there's a commitment to the environment to not do the harm that we've been doing in the past. And if you can make a smaller footprint, carbon footprint on the environment, that's better for everybody.
The thing that was always stressed in what the house that I grew up and learned was respect. You know, that was the biggest thing. Not in just one area, but in many areas. If people were made fun of, and they had maybe they had a disorder or physical ailment, and we were always told, be nice to them, you know, be good to them. And so my family is still like that, you know, all of us. Some people say, well, don't talk to so-and-so because this is what he did, or, you know, and, you know, the only one that should be able to judge is at the end, you know, when we finally go home. Then you'll know, you know, if you live the right way.
Chef Freddie Bitsoie loves life, a good story, and presenting someone with a very good dish. As a culinary professional and as a Native person, Chef Freddie attempts to deconstruct current concepts and definitions of Native American food, a generic term that lumps the diverse number of cultures and their foods and dishes into one category. The University of New Mexico campus was the perfect backdrop on this cool fall day to discuss culture, anthropology, and the culinary arts with Chef Freddie Bitsoie.
Food in general has always been is probably one of the first things culturally that we're taught inadvertently when we're children, babies. Preparing food is not a primordial thing. Primordial meaning it's not something that we automatically are born with. It's a cultural product. The culture that I was born in taught me how to prepare food, you know, taught me how to cook food, and that's what I relate myself to. If we get some elderly French people who are in their 80s and 90s and we have them eat from a French comfort restaurant today, most of the food that is on the menu, they can relate to throughout their life. They can say, I remember when I had this when I was 15, oh, we had this at my wedding. Whether if it's French, Italian, or an Asian culture, they can relate to the food that they've had. When it comes to Native American food, though, if we take elderly people to a restaurant that claims to be Native American, most likely they won't relate to anything that is presented to them. And even though the majority of the chefs are presenting Native foods, there still is a big discrepancy. There's no cultural substance within these dishes.
And Chef Freddie wants to change how we perceive culture, food, and gender roles.
With Native tribes, gender roles are still a high priority as far as women cook and men don't. So when a professional cook comes and he's male, it kind of enlightens all the male people in the audience, like, oh yeah, we can cook. And some actually do come up to me and share that with me and say, I always believe that the women should cook, but knowing that even though it still may be traditional, people are still practicing gender role differences in communities.
Freddie often travels teaching people how to prepare and cook Native foods and dishes. He's even prepared a meal at the Herb Museum in Phoenix, Arizona. And sometimes he's the student.
I travel through, the majority of the time is with reservation communities and rural communities around the country. While I was up in Menominee, Minnesota, I was taught that we could make wild rice flour, and to do different things, like making cakes, cookies, and a friend of mine suggested to make some pasta out of wild rice flour. So we're experimenting with that a little bit.
This is one of those things, Freddie, where it is all about technique.
It's all about technique. It's very simple. If you don't get it right the first time, just always practice. Flour is not expensive.
Television is another medium Freddie uses to get his message of Native foods across to a larger audience.
The station wanted to do, was looking for someone to do Indian tacos. And so they said, oh, we know a Native guy who cooks in Phoenix, and so they called me up and we talked about it. And the way that they called me and they asked to do the taco is they said, we want to do the fry bread with the toppings. And I said, what do you mean? And the producer said, well, what's the right way to, I don't want to be disrespectful. So it kind of let me know that there's so many different ways that people are, people from Indian country get offended or feel like they're offended when it comes to talking about the taco. Like here in New Mexico, some people call it the Pueblo taco. Of course, in the Navajo reservation, they call it Navajo taco. And some people just say, well, I even heard Pan-American Indian taco or something like that. But that's kind of what we wanted to talk about on TV.
The cooking experience offered by Freddie allows his students to cook healthier foods with what is available.
There is a way to eat every day without, giving up a lot of different things, using real natural foods. For example, if it's vegetables that are in that canning solution, I teach them to rinse it. If it's corn, rinse it and then roast it, season it a little. It brings out flavor. It makes it taste a lot better. And it's kind of rinsing out all that extra salt that's in the product. So the little steps, they're little tidbits, but they do help out a lot, and they do help with the diet.
The path Freddie took to becoming a chef began as a student of anthropology in college.
I had a discussion with one of my anthropology instructors who said, study the modern technique. Study how professional cooks prepare their food. So I went to Scottsdale Culinary. As a Navajo going into the kitchen, I was automatically assumed that I was a dishwasher. And I will say, if I wasn't the anthropologist, I probably would have gotten so upset and not be able to handle it. But I understood, and it was more fascinating to me because I got to experience what a lot of people just write about. And I got to experience the people automatically assuming that I don't speak English, speaking Spanish to me. So you know, I was in anthropology heaven, experiencing all of these things that we learn about in school. Living today, how we kind of live traditionally and secularly, and, you know, in the American culture, it's, you know, it's kind of the same relation as far as I cook. You know, I cook traditional native food, but I also survive in American culture as well. So it relates in both ways, and it's fascinating. If I didn't study anthropology, I probably wouldn't look at it in that perspective, but it's constantly balancing that perspective of being true to being Native American, or, you know, living in Indian country.
For more information about Native Report or the stories we've covered, look for us on the web at nativereport.org. Thank you for spending this time with your friends and neighbors in Indian country. I'm Stacy Thunder. See you next time on Native Report.
Stacy Thunder is a member of and legal counsel for the Red Lake Nation, and Tad Johnson is a member of the Boys Fort Band of Chippewa and is chair for the American Indian Studies Department on the campus of the University of Minnesota Duluth.
Thank you.